1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Brentford 4, Everton 2. Soundcheck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is the Royal Blue Podcast. It is the post-match reaction show following Everton's 4-2 home defeat to Brentford. I am your host, Ian Croll, and joining me for this evening's show is Tony Scott. Tony, I don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. I'm sure the listeners don't want to be here, but we are professional.
Of course.
So we'll stay for a little bit anyway.
Yeah, the good, the bad and the ugly.
What went wrong today?
Oh, how long have you got?
Sorry, is that really off the bat?
No,
really?
it's listen, a lot of things went wrong, and it's important that you put things into perspective. By the way, it's a defeat. It's a bad defeat. You're conceding huge number of goals at home. Not for the first time. For tonight, it was 3 against Tottenham, 4 against Newcastle. Was it? I can't remember.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've conceded a lot of goals at home in bad defeats, but it's important that you put things into perspective. And I said this at the start of the day, that although it's obviously don't want to cover all ground here, it's massively important that you just take a step back and go, right, where are we as a football club? Now, yet we are reacting to a defeat, which is a poor performance and a poor result. But on this very day, 12 months ago, Everton were beaten against Bournemouth, leaving us a point above the relegation zone. Sean Dyche was in charge. We were in a perilous position in the Premier League. Now, since then, David Moyes has come in, kept us afloat, had some memorable memories leaving Goodison Park. We've moved into Hill Dickinson. Now, win today would have catapulted us to 5th or 6th in the Premier League. Now, it hasn't happened. That's just on the back of that performance. And Everton will fluctuate between 15th and 5th all season long because the league this season is that compact. And what will catapult Everton to the European positions this season is reinforcements in January. The squad is paper thin. It's threadbare at the moment. It's being tested to the maximum, where you're having to recall academy players on loan from championship clubs. That shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be doing that for the development of Addison Armstrong, but we're having to obviously call upon him. Yeah, he's our player, but we're having to do that because of the squad is paper thin at the moment. So that's where we are at the moment. As a team, we're improving. We're developing as a football club. We're trying to get back on our 2 feet. And there's going to be holes and cracks this season where we're having to just paper over them. For example, today, you're having to juggle. Now, Jacob Bryan is not a natural right back. He's having to play it at the moment because we have got to recognise right back in Nathan Patterson, but we all know the qualities of him. Now, the centre-forward position I've been banging my heads against the wall for against the last couple of seasons. Now, the big key difference today for me was the centre-forward position. Now, although Barry has improved in the last couple of games, you only have to look at the opposite end of the pitch and what Brentford had up front. It was night and day. Now, there'd be a lot of key areas where Everton struggled. I'll probably elaborate on that shortly. In centre midfield was a big key area of man. But up front, with the difference between the two sides, it was night and day. And that's where the recruitment team and the freaking group have got to back the manager this January. If they've got any aspirations of wanting to be finishing in the top 10 or targeting the European positions, then they've got to back the manager in January. If they're happy and just getting some stability at the football club and getting mid-table, then that's it. But if they want European football, they need an overlapping full-back desperately, and they need a centre-forward, in my opinion.
Okay, well, we are live, so get your questions in, get your comments in. I've already made a note of some, which I am going to come to and address. So, I mean, I get everything you were saying there with regards to how far we've come probably over the past 12 months, and, you know, we should put everything into context. And although I am extremely annoyed and extremely frustrated. We mentioned it on the pod, probably one of the preview pods just before the Brentford game, that this season has been a very much a case of ups and downs. We've had defeats to like a Tottenham, but we've kind of bounced back. I think we drew against a Sunderland, but then we gone and beat a Fulham. Then we went and got and beat a United. Yeah. We've done the exact same against Newcastle, conceded 4, but then we bounced back with a Bournemouth win. We bounced back again, following off from that with a Forest win 3-0. Yeah. So I don't want to, I don't want to get too high when we win, and I certainly don't want to get too low when we win, and that's where I am at the moment. But conceding 4 goals against Brentford, Brentford were a good team, and the phrase of winnable games was used prior to this game. Brentford and Wolves, very dangerous in this league, because there's no winnable games. You've got to earn the right to win your games, and Brentford are up there. I think they were a place below us. Shouldn't be conceding 4 goals against a team like Brentford.
You shouldn't, don't get me wrong, and I think part of that was due to the vulnerability of Everton's defence, the sheer presence of Thiago on the pitch. He absolutely bullied Everton from the first kick. Everton could not cope with him. James Tarkowski in particular had a horrid afternoon, really, really did. Give the ball away in a key area, leading up to Brentford's first goal through Thiago, slotted past Pickford in the south stand there. I thought he was poor throughout. His head looked gone, to be honest. James Tarkowski. Michael Keane was quite clearly not fit, but was having to play because the numbers of where we are. Now, in hindsight, it's a great thing, and I'm sure lots of Evertonians, when I was walking along Regent Road there and I was listening to conversations, and a lot of them, obviously, the conversations that were getting said was, why did Moyes change a winning back 4 against Nottingham Forest? Now, I get that. There's an argument for that. He should have started with Nathan Patterson, but would that have made a difference today? Would that have made a huge difference today if Patterson starts and Michael Keane's on the bench? I don't think it does. If anything, you look at it in hindsight now, Tyler Dibbling probably shouldn't have started today, because Brentford are a powerful team. They're very, very physical, and he didn't get a look in. And it's all sorts of causes, because I'm sure a lot of Evertonians would contact me saying, like, oh, why did he change the winning side? Why did he mix up the back 4? We just got a clean sheet against Forest. I said, but Nottingham Forest aren't Brentford. Brentford are a better side than Nottingham Forest. Forest could go down this season. Brentford are a point behind us. They're now above us. It's horses for courses. You need to look at each team and their tactics and their, obviously, the positives that they've got. And obviously Brentford going forward are a lot more physical and a lot more skillful than what Nottingham Forest are, and that's just due to the managers and what they are. So I get. Listen, we're here to analyse out what went wrong for Everton, but I think a large part of that was due to how good of a centre forward that they had on the pitch compared to what we had, and also a gaping hole in midfield. I thought Everton were really, and I'm not pointing the finger at Moyes for this, but I thought Garner and Rubenham were really low in the block, and what I mean by that is that they were so deep. They weren't pressing as a team. So there's a gaping hole between Dwight McNeil and number 10. That didn't work today. And Irabunam and Garner. There was a massive gap there. And it happens against Newcastle, where we were absolutely bullied from minute 1. And it happens again today. Brentford just overpowered us, overrun us in midfield. And I was open to see James Garner push on in the pressing game. And he wasn't doing it. There was just a big gaping hole in the middle of the field, and Brentford capitalised on that. And if they didn't go through that midfield, they were just knocking the ball past Mikalenko and Jake O'Brien, and we were just left found wanting all the time. Brentford could have had easily 5 or 6 in the end. That's the game as it was panning out, and Moyes must have looked at his bench in terms of numbers. I get he could have maybe put 1 square peg and 1 round hole, don't get me wrong, but overall, they've got a centre forward that's going to score 15, 20 a season. We haven't. And they've got powerful players in there who are structured to a team. We'll still find on our feet. We've still got players who just aren't at the level of Premier League at the moment. We're bringing in Mail and Roll. Quite clearly, he's not up to the level. Tyler Dibbling still a working in project. We're putting square pegs in round holes. Jake O'Brien isn't a natural right back. He's a centre back, but he's having to play there. Vitaly Mikalenko is not up to Premier League standards, in my opinion. So you're just trying to paper over as many cracks as possible. And in the end, it'll get found out against a very, very good team who's got stability right the way through the side.
Stick with the team selection then, with obviously the defence. When you change your back line, after you've kept a clean sheet, and then you go and concede 4 goals, you're obviously going to open yourself up to criticism. I just think this. It's easy now again in hindsight because obviously we got kind of Patterson back fit, and he is the natural right back. Whether his quality's there again remains to be seen. Quite clearly, Moyes doesn't fancy him, but he did start him.
Not many managers fancies him, by the way.
That's fine. But I think the O'Brien, whether you want to call it experiment or O'Brien situation where he plays right back at home, it's just not working anymore. When the emphasis is on us to go and get on the ball and make things happen, he's just not physically, or he hasn't got the quality or attributes to be able to do anything to be the overlapping fullback that we need. If Michael Keane wasn't fit, then your natural and your go-to should be to keep Jake O'Brien as a centre-back because he had a fantastic game against Nottingham Forest in the week. Whether Patterson wasn't fit or Moyes didn't think he was capable, or again, you mentioned Brentford's physicality, that's fine. Brentford were physical, and again, unfortunately, it seems to be a common theme against teams this season where we're struggling against a bit of physicality. Tottenham, Newcastle, Arsenal. Again, today, Brentford, and Thiago was a player that we focused on in one of the preview shows. He has taken a bit of time to get going for Brentford, but he's looking every bit of a Premier League striker. He's obviously second in the goal scoring chart in the overall in the Premier League, and he looks like a real find at this moment in time. But I don't know. I think Moyes has just opened himself up to a little bit of criticism, changing the back line after a really solid defensive performance against Nottingham Forest.
It's just on all horses for courses. Nottingham Forest were poor. They didn't create much. They were just knocking the ball into Tarkowski and O'Brien's head. It was food and drink for them. Whereas in Brentford aren't. Brentford are very strong from throw-ins, from corners. We've seen that today. So that's why he brought Michael Keane in. Now, in hindsight, as you touched on, a great thing. So if Moyes would have went with the tried and trusted, that weight against Nottingham Forest, for example, as you're elaborating on, would that have made a difference today? If Nathan Patterson would have started today and Michael Keane would have sat on the bench, basically the same 11, would that have made a difference today? I don't think so, personally.
I tell you what, I don't know whether it is as simple as this. I felt we started the game on the front foot, and I felt we started the game well.
Yeah, first 10 minutes.
Dwight McNeil had a really good chance, which took deflection, and the keeper made a great save. I thought Grealish and McNeil were linking up fairly well, certainly in the first 10, 15 minutes or so. And then Tarkowski, you mentioned, he had a dreadful afternoon. He makes a mistake. It was such a weird passage of play because the Brentford player goes down looking for a foul.
Yeah. And we stop.
We completely stop. It's like we're baffled that the referee hasn't given a free kick. And the ball comes to Tarkowski, who should obviously just boot it up, clear it.
Clear your line.
He passes it, which is obviously left us in a spot of bother. And Brentford able to then get the cross in to the box.
And then you're chasing the game then. And that's the key thing. And the first goal in the Premier League is so key. We've seen it this season on stats.
We mentioned it again, preview pod, that the only time we've come away with a win after conceding the first goal this season was against Crystal Palace. And it's so tough when you go 1-0 down because
we haven't got goal scorers on the pitch. That's it. We don't batter teams, do we? It's only Nottingham Forest, which we've put 3 past, I think, at the top of my head, who we've given a kind of an hiding to. But so that when you're conceding an early goal, you're having to chase the game and leave yourself wide open straight away. And it's important that James Tarkowski is well experienced, but there's been too many times this season where he's trying to play too much football. And you're a centre-back. You're an old-school, old-fashioned centre-back that does your job perfectly great in terms of dealing with crosses into the box, getting your blocks in. But it's like knowing your limits, know your standards in terms of when you get the ball, there's an easy option on. Because I've easily gone to Jordan Pickford or gone down the line. He tries to play to Timo Ruben, who's on the blind side of the Brentford midfielder, and next minute the ball's in the back of the net. He should know better than that. He really, really should know better for an experience. And it weren't just that error, by the way. He had an absolute torrid time against Thiago. He bullied Everton's centre-halves all day. And not many have done that this season, by the way.
I think that's fine. I just think, I don't know whether it's as simple as this, because conceding 4 goals, you should be able to stop the rot at some point in the game. But we looked okay. We just seemed to lose our heads as soon as we conceded that first goal. And it was almost like, well, we know we're not going to get back into this. And how frustrating is it that we've scored 2? Both of our strikers have scored, but we've lost the game and conceded 4 goals. Well, that's in a way, in many ways, that's more frustrating than actually losing the game, because we're crying out for the strikers to chip in, chip in with scoring goals so we can get the points. And they have today. I'm not like putting all the praise or anything or any praise on anyone. To be perfectly honest, I think no one really covered themselves in any
Grealish
glory.
done okay today.
Grealish obviously gets 2 assists, doesn't he? I think there was an element of frustration in the second half when he's keeping hold of the ball when he could maybe cross it in, and the fans certainly on the east side and the south, the southeast.
He put 2 in the box and we got 2 goals.
No, he did. I'm just saying. Like there was definitely a reaction from the fans when at one point when Grealish didn't cross the ball in, and look, I give him a 7 for my player rating, so that was one of the highest.
He's probably Everton's best player today, I thought.
He's doubled up on every single time, and I know whether you're critical of Tyler Diblin, he didn't have the greatest game, but again, Diblin was doubled up in the first half.
Grealish can cope with that. That's the thing. Grealish can cope with that. He can cope with the physical side of it as well. Grealish, he can win your free kicks. Dibbling struggles in a physical game today. He really did. I'm not having a pop at him because either Grealish and Dibbling have got no overlapping fullbacks. And it's a key thing that you need in the Premier League this season, especially because obviously it's so physical, that set pieces. So if you've got the ball as a winger, you need overlapping fullbacks. And a prime example of that, it was 3-1 today. I think Joe Thomas said to me, he said, have a look at the period of the pitch now, because where we sit, obviously you can analyse the game really well. And you're seeing it. So Jack Grealish is getting the ball. Basically, it's 25 yards away from Brentford's penalty area. And Everton are 3-1 down. So you're trying to chase the game. So Grealish has got the ball. Mikalenko was 25 yards back from Jack Grealish. He was on the halfway line. And you're chasing the game. That should not be happening. If you're trying to win a game of football and you need to get a goal within 15, 20 minutes, your fullback shouldn't be on the halfway line. Your centre-half should be on there, not your fullback. Your fullback should be literally bombing on, taking a player out the game for Jack Grealish to come inside, or at least take someone out the game or so we can pass it to him. Everton's 2 fullbacks at the moment are redundant. They're redundant because they don't cross the halfway line. And it's hurting them big time because they're coming up against opposition players that do likewise. The
problem is we've got one player who's playing left back who we all probably agree isn't good enough. He might be defensively, might consider him to be okay
defensively.
Yeah. But then again, you've got a square peg in a round hole in Jake O'Brien, who had a fantastic game. I'm reverting back to this point because we're getting a lot of questions and points about basically Jake O'Brien reverting back to right back.
But he goes right back. Patterson isn't. We've seen 5 years of Patterson. Every manager can't be wrong.
It does. You know, you're changing a winning team and you're changing a team that's conceded no goals in your previous game, aren't you?
But we've seen enough defeats under Nathan Patterson. Everyone gets this win because we won a game at Nottingham Forest, who literally didn't cross the halfway line but just lumped balls into the box. That doesn't make it right or wrong.
But the focus, and whether it's right or wrong, I'm not saying it is and it isn't, the focus immediately goes to what went wrong today. Okay, you've pointed to what Brentford were good, their physicality. Brentford didn't start the game well. We gave them that game today. But then you look at other things and you look, well, what did we do differently to what we did on Tuesday night when we beat Nottingham Forest? No, it's a completely different game.
I think it's a different opposition.
No, it's a different game, different opposition. That's absolutely fine. You know, seemingly we're better at playing away from home because I can't remember last time we won a home game. Was it Forest? It was Forest.
Forest at
home 3-0, wasn't it? So we're all just frustrated. But you look at the issues. Why did this happen and why did that happen? I don't know whether Nathan Patterson was fit enough to play today. I don't know whether Moyes, what was going through Moyes' mind. He probably thought, well, we need that physical edge of Jake O'Brien as a right back, and that's absolutely fine. But then it just completely cuts off any attacking prowess that we might have.
But is Nathan Patterson, has he turned into Cafe overnight or something because we played Nottingham Forest?
I think that's going a bit extreme.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that we've seen 5 years of Nathan Patterson, and I'm sure I'd speak to lots of Evertonians. Nobody has rated him, and all these managers can't be wrong. But, so all of a sudden, as he turned into he should have started and we would have won today.
That's fine. I'm not saying that.
I don't think it would have made a difference.
But I don't think Michael Keane was fully up to it either. I don't think he was fully fit.
Of course, and I get that. I fully accept that. There's a good argument for that. But I don't get Nathan Patterson. Yeah, he may bring a little bit more balance to the team, but don't forget, he got hauled off against Nottingham Forest, by the way, because they were getting in a bit amongst them. They had to put Maitland Roll right back for the second half. We know Patterson's not good enough.
I know this is the same point, but I'm not focusing on Patterson as an individual and his qualities.
Oh, of course, yeah.
My point is changing a winning team, changing a team where you've conceded no goals and you played very well. I mean, if I'm being totally honest, I think it was probably Jake O'Brien's best performance in an Everton shirt against Nottingham Forest. And to be honest, I thought swapping and changing him back and forth
because
can't be helped. Like, that can't be good for him.
But that's because of the paper thin squads we've got. We haven't got a decent right back, have we? We haven't got a decent right back, and that's the problem. And that's something that needs to be addressed in these next 3 weeks. Okay. It's got to be.
Let's move on to. I mean, it's obviously going to be a podcast of negatives and trying to find out what went wrong. I mean, conceding another free header from a corner is, seeming to be a bit of a consistent problem now.
I knew this was coming, and because
you knew I was going to ask,
no,
or you knew that
I
was.
I just knew it was because I've seen lots of comments on social media. I think Everton have one of the best records.
No, I know they do, but as in, it seems to be starting to be a bit of a problem now.
Well, is it? Because we conceded 2 against Tottenham, 1 against Newcastle, if I remember rightly, or something.
It's a problem at home then.
Exactly, it probably is. At home, away from home, obviously.
We just don't be able to deal with it. And Pickford, it's definitely one of his weaknesses.
Of course, listen, if you put that ball in a really good area, by the way, Brentford set pieces were brilliant today. They're putting the ball right on the money, like Arsenal do. They know if you put the ball in between that 6-yard box, in between the goalie and the centre-back, there's a good chance it's going to get a flick on and there's a goal. And Everton was zonal marking for the goal, for Collins' goal. And it got in between, I think it was James Tarkowski and Iraburum at the time. The lads got a free run and it's in the back of the net. And obviously you'd think, right, all of a sudden, it's a key thing that Everton should improve on. But they've got one of the best records in the Premier League this season from defending set pieces. We've conceded 20 goals this season. I think there's 5 that have been from set pieces.
No, I know.
You look at that compared to other football clubs in the Premier League, it's night and day.
I think that's the problem though, isn't it?
It's because it's been highlighted because they've come off the back of really poor defeats. That's why. If Everton win today 3-1 and we concede a goal from a set piece, no one batters an eyelid. But because they're coming off the back of Tottenham, Newcastle and Brentford defeats, we've been beaten off heavily at Hill Dickinson. That's why it's been magnified and highlighted that all of a sudden we're conceding from set pieces when quite naturally there's Forest there the other day, put 54 crosses into the box. Didn't score a goal.
I think maybe the point being is it from corners? Is that an issue though? Is that something that
not necessarily because we defended well against set pieces this season. We've played the 20 games is it so far this season? I think we conceded 5 goals from set pieces.
I think to just emphasise on the point of from a defensive point of view, that has definitely been one of the positives of the season so far. The centre-back pairing of Keane and Tarkowski, obviously it's been disrupted a little bit because of injuries and suspension. So, Jake O'Brien's obviously gone in there at some point. But obviously when you need it to be right nearly, 90, 95 minutes of the game. And when it's gone wrong, and I'm not talking about this game as well, I'm talking about other games, Spurs, obviously Newcastle as well. It's gone drastically wrong, hasn't it?
No, it has, and listen, that's why it gets highlighted a lot more. But you've got to focus. You've got to also think about as well as how good the delivery has been. Arsenal are very good at deliveries from set pieces.
I'm not including Arsenal because it's Arsenal,
of course, yeah, but they're very good from set pieces as well. Do you know? There's a lot of teams that focus, I'd say, 50% of their training methods on set pieces alone. Keith Andrews was Brentford's set piece coach last season, so he's just taken the baton on even further in terms of how good they are from set pieces. Their throw-ins, they're as good as corners. This is a Coyote, as he today, the fullback. Coyote today, he was unbelievable. And that just shows you again, set pieces, how they practice them and practice them and practice them. And it shows you how well they perform in big games against them. Lots of clubs have found it difficult to defend against Brentford set pieces this season because of it.
I'll finish off on the right back point of view with some comments and maybe questions, and then we'll kind of try and move on a little bit.
Can I just say as well, just on the basis, we'll talk about it shortly, that every time I'm speaking about obviously Everton's centre forward situation, and we've spoke about it in depth, haven't we? Beto, Barry, what's going to change? I don't get this method, this shout that you need to spend 50, 60 million on a centre forward to guarantee your goals in the Premier League. It winds me up. It really, really does. Brentford prove time and time again your recruitment team are running the show. The owner of Brentford, and they look at data and everything else and XG, Brentford will go and get, when they sell him eventually, Thiago, to maybe a Tottenham or someone who's obviously got better aspirations than Brentford, they'll probably flog him for about 50, 60, 70 million. And I'll guarantee Brentford will go and get another centre-forward who'll bury goals. Pretty much like they found Visser and they found Ivan Toney. They'll go and find centre-forwards because the recruitment team, that's what they hang the hat on. So why aren't we finding them? Why are we spending 30 million on Barry, 30 million on Beto, when because I've got him?
Listen, it's another podcast in itself. But in all fairness to Thiago, it's not like he came in last season and struggled a little bit.
He never basically. They bought him 18 months ago. The deal was to buy it. They bought him in February and he stayed with Club Brugge till the end of the season. He came last July back to obviously to Brentford, and then he picked up a serious injury and he hadn't been seen since. This season has been his first full season at Brentford, and he's second top goal scorer in the Premier League. £28 million.
Listen, he was a player
and he's not just a goal scorer, by the way. He bullied our back four. Bullied 100%. Them, holds the ball up. He gives them a torrid time. I'll bet you if you were to ask Tarkowski and Michael Keane in that dressing room there, is that one of the best centre forwards you played against? They'd be struggling for breath. He bullied them from minute one.
You could see how frustrated Tarkowski was, and I'm sure an element of it was the fact that he was just playing poorly anyway, but the fact that he couldn't cope with his physicality. Look, he was a player that we highlighted, you know, on one of the preview shows last week, and thought we're going to be in for a torrid time. This was never going to be an easy game. Don't get me wrong. Once again, like the Newcastle game, I knew it ain't going to be an easy game, but I didn't expect to concede 4 like we've done today, like we've done against Newcastle. Just on the right back situation, just make everyone aware of the comments that are coming in. I mean, a lot of people kind of disagreeing with moving O'Brien over to centre back. So John W says, really odd call to change a solid back four from the Forest win. Mark Foster says, Murray's got it wrong today. The moment he chose to play O'Brien at right back and we lost our balance. Liam Dunn, play Roll right back. I mean, is that, he fitted in, didn't he, against, was it Forest?
We shouldn't have to be doing this, should we?
But he again, he's another player who's a little bit versatile, and whether you want to describe it as a square peg in a round hole, that's fine. But, you know,
we're papering over so many cracks at the moment, aren't we? We're putting lots of square pegs in round holes, and eventually it's going to catch you out. It
caught us out today with O'Brien.
Dwight McNeil is never a number 10. We're having to play him a number 10. He's having to put a centre half in right back. We're having to put Merlin Roll. He looked out of sorts. And there's only so many square pegs in round holes before you'll come up unstuck. And we got him unstuck today. It'll get you over the line against a poor Nottingham Forest side, because Nottingham Forest didn't create anything. They were just horrendous tactics that Sean Dyche knocked up against Everton. Everton were lucky on the day that they come up against a manager that was providing them tactics under Forest, because Forest have got some very good players. They've got Gibbs White, they've got Anderson, and all they were doing was lumping the ball in the box.
What do you do Wednesday, though, from a right-back point of view? Do you stick with Jake O'Brien?
But again, will it make a difference if Patterson's on the right-hand side?
I think it'd make a difference in terms of balance.
Well, don't get me wrong. Listen, Brentford are a very good side. They're sitting in, 7th, 6th tonight? They're not Wolves. So I get, like, all of a sudden, there's a logic. Jake O'Brien's been outstanding for Everton in 2025 at right back. But now there's a big clamour for him to play centre-back because we beat Nottingham Forest 2-0.
Barry Grundy said Keane wasn't fit. He should have played O'Brien centre-back, and Patterson worked well against Forest. The only change should have been Grealish for McNeil. Again, like, I agree with the right-back situation, but like, we need to react better when we can see the goal. Yeah, we started this game very well. Yeah. We did. The first 10 minutes, we were on the front foot. And although Brentford obviously were going to be in the game, even when it was 0-0, we had the better chance with McNeil. I don't know whether that was considered to be the big chance, because we only had one big chance.
Yeah.
I think
didn't Jack Grealish fizz the ball in the 6-yard box, and I think it might have been Barry as a shot and it at the goalkeeper's legs. But I think in the main, as you touched on there's too many square pegs and round holes in the team at the moment, and it'll come up cropper. It'll catch you out, especially when you're playing against a physical team like Brentford. They will catch you out. You can only plug so many gaps in teams when your squad is paper thin anyway, when you've got Dewsbury all out injured, when you've got Illuminati still playing in AFCON, when you've got other players in other areas, it will catch it out. It's all okay going to Nottingham Forest. Everyone's making Patterson, we played against a poor Nottingham Forest side who everyone has beaten. We're playing against Brentford today. We're very, very physical. 9 times out of 10, beat Nottingham Forest. It's horses for courses in the Premier
League. The only thing
League.
I'd say as well, Brentford haven't got the best away records, and I think
they're above us. They're sitting in the top 8.
No, I know now, but
they were a point behind us today.
I think it's a poor defeat.
Have they beat Man City this season? They took points off Liverpool. They beat Liverpool. They beat Man City. They're a decent side. They're a very good side. We've just seen that this season.
I'm not saying that they're not. And when we said winnable game, dangerous to say that because for all the reasons you just said. But to concede 4 goals, whether we've scored 2 and there was a little mini fight back in the second half, it's atrocious.
I totally get that. Listen, we shouldn't be conceding.
Do you think Moyes was, I don't want to say naive, because he's not a naive manager without a doubt. He's fully experienced, but bringing better on with Barry. First time he's done that.
Yeah.
Backfired a little bit because
he's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't. So it's like,
no, I'm not criticising for it. I'm just saying it wasn't a natural 4-4-2, was it?
Well, Joe pointed out to me at times it was 4-3-3.
Yeah, but I thought Barry was playing more on the wing.
Yeah, and it didn't suit. Did Barry actually touch the ball in the second half?
Do you know what's really frustrating for me with the strikers? I think you're gonna probably laugh at me, but there really is too much emphasis at this moment in time on whether our 2 strikers can or should hold the ball up. There was times in the second half, and it was more Beto who was doing it. Grealish had the ball on the left hand side, and Beto was kind of running towards Grealish, and I was thinking, what are you doing? He's not going to pass to you because he knows you can't hold the ball. Just get yourself in the box. We need our midfield to be able to build up the play and then get it wide and cross it in. But I think Barry's guilty of that as well, because I think probably that's what he's been instructed to do. Drop a little deeper, hold the ball up, or when you get the ball into your try and lay it off very quickly and then get into the box.
It's game intelligence, Ian.
No, it is game intelligence, but I also think it's probably instructions from the bench as well. Just get in the box. What did Ancelotti say to Calvert-Lewin all those years ago? Get yourself in the box, and that's exactly what he's been doing.
Do you think Moyes is actually saying to Barry and Beto, I want you on the edge of the area? Of course not.
I think he's saying that we need our strikers to hold the ball up.
Yeah, and that's obviously the way Everton play when they've got Dewsbury, Grealish and Ndiaye. You want your centre forward to hold the ball up because they've got natural wingers who are ball carriers.
I want my strikers in the 18-yard box.
Yeah, but when you've got the ball and when you've got the ball possession based, and if Grealish is getting marked or Ndiaye, if you want to go long, you should be able to go long and get your centre forward to hold the ball up if you can, if possible. So Everton can't do that because they haven't got a centre forward to hold the ball up. So the natural thing to do is get it out wide, which they do to Ndiaye and Grealish or Dewsbury, who's playing maybe in an 8 or a 10. But your centre forward, you're right, should be on the 6-yard box, but they haven't got the game intelligence. And what I mean by that is, Ian, how many times this season has the ball been fizzed in front of the 6-yard box and Beto has been standing on his heels and just missed the ball? He hasn't got the intelligence to get in front of his centre forward. What I mean by that, I've seen it Burnley when I think was Tyler Dibbling fizzed it across the face of goal, bang, he was about an half an inch away. Why? Because he hasn't got the intelligence to get in front of his man. It happens against Manchester City, ball across the box, all of a sudden he missed it by a millimetre. It's having that knack to get in front of goal. And I get it, sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating because our wingers, you don't know whether they're across the ball or not, because the likes of Dibbling and Ndiaye, it's probably aimed at Grealish more than anything, is that they can chew the ball a lot more. So it must be a little bit of a nightmare for a centre forward to play with, because you don't know whether the ball's going to be fizzed in. But be on your heels. Have that game intelligence to be on your heels, ready for when the ball does come across, get in front of your defender and slot in. And we haven't seen it from, and that's the key thing. That you bet your bottom dollar, if Brentford put the ball in the box like that, it goes in the back of the net, because Thiago's got the brain to get in front of his man.
There's nothing through the middle though, is there? There's no attempts to get the ball through, through balls for the strikers to run on the shoulder of the last defender. I mean, how many times? I know it's easy when you're pushing for a goal and we're leaving space, but how many times did Thiago and Brentford play that ball through?
Because they know him. They know, and listen, I'm pretty much sure if you were to speak to Everton players off the records, they'd tell you obviously what their capabilities are and who they enjoy playing with, etc. You can guarantee them Brentford players will be structured to play the way Thiago fancies it. And what I mean by that is that they're playing alongside him every single day at Brentford's training ground. They'll know his weaknesses and he'll know his strengths. And obviously his strengths are holding the ball up, lethal in front of goal, let him run the channels. He's a perfect centre forward, and it's what we haven't got. We haven't got a centre forward that's going to hold the ball up. We haven't got a prolific, ruthless centre forward. And the big key difference is in games where there's nothing in it. And I'll guarantee that 10-minute phase there with Everton were on top, as you touched on, Ian, at the start, when if Thiago is in an Everton shirt, that's in the back of the net, and all of a sudden Everton are 1-0 up. They're the key things in the Premier League that will take you from 15th to 5th. A centre forward that's going to pull in the back of the net. And you look at lots of teams in the Premier League now, they've got a ruthless centre forward in the mix, and we haven't, and it's hurting us big time.
Stephen Dyer's come onto the stream with a comment, kind of. I know you've been a little bit critical of the forwards there, so I think this is in response to what you're saying there. So he says, so we get it out wide, which dictates that we need to then have overlapping fullbacks to make that work. But he then says, nah, blame the centre forwards who are literally getting no service.
They are getting service. The XG will tell you they're getting service. How many balls are getting fizzed into the box? What did Grealish do? Grealish cost 2 balls into the box today, and he scored 2. And he put one in. Him and Dye have done nothing but fizz, but they know quite well if they're launching the ball into the box 9 times out of 10, that the centre forward isn't going to be getting on the centre. We only scored one at the end there through a back post effort.
Expected goals from Sofa score is 0.85. Big chances.
That's always got the worst this season.
1, and total shots. Look, any time we've either drawn a game or lost a game, it always comes down to quality of chances. We might have had, like, I don't know, 14, 15 plus total shots, but are they big chances? Are they high quality chances? I just don't think they are they?
Well,
you can make a point, and you are right, where Barry and Beto have definitely missed chances. Obviously, the one at Sunderland, if you want to use that as an example, I think Beto missed one against City, didn't he? Where it was across the face of the goal. He's missed a couple, but are they considered to be high quality chances?
Yeah, because it's fine margins in the Premier League, and that's what I'm saying. When we're playing against when you're playing in them games where there's nothing in it. And what I mean by that is that between the two sides, Brentford and Everton, there's not much in it. The league position will tell you that. But they've got Thiago. We haven't. And I'm not saying that's the answer, by the way, but we haven't got overlapping fullbacks. We haven't got attacking fullbacks. There's that lad there who's just touched on Coyote, right back for Brentford. He's brilliant. They signed him for peanuts this summer. And why were we in the mix for him?
Look, I'm sure we'll talk about that on transfer
but
business.
I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that we'll come away from this and we'll pinpoint key areas and go, oh yeah, Patterson should have started and O'Brien shouldn't have been.
I know, but Thiago was signed when? January, February
18 months ago, yeah.
But obviously that's before the new recruitment team.
I know,
but that's before the new recruitment team have come in.
So what I'm trying to say, that we knew Everton's capabilities in August. They've gone into a season with 2 centre forwards. One is nowhere near good enough. We've spoken depth about last season, and one is still a work in progress. So we should be having, in my opinion, a centre forward lined up in January, and we should have fullbacks, because we've known that Jake O'Brien has been playing at right back all season. Have we known that Mikalenko has been poor this season? Yeah, we've known about it for months on end. So the fullbacks and the centre forward areas have got to be improved on. We've known this if me and you and lots of Evertonians have known about this for 6 months since the ball's been kicked, then I pretty much expect the recruitment team to be all over it, because Brentford's and Brighton's and Bournemouth's and all these other teams, they're all over it. They're all improving all the time.
Well, we are improving. We have improved. This is obviously a bit of a low of the season.
But they're 2 key areas that's killing us, and that's where we're analysing defeats.
Today, I think we're obviously going to be in disagreement. Look, the strikers' situation or lack of goals has obviously been apparent over the course of the season. And
it's not just this season, by the way. It's been over the last 3 or 4 seasons.
No. I think we were like the 3rd lowest in the league. But I think today, for me anyway, I don't think the strikers are to blame for today. I think it's a poor defensive performance.
Yeah, fully accept that.
Obviously, look, we were all raving about Tim Iroboom after Tuesday's win. I think he was probably off it a little bit today. James Garner was probably one of the bright spots, but he can't do everything.
No,
do you know what I mean? He literally can't. I mean, there are players who out there can do everything and be in box to box, but you know, he's fighting a losing battle when your team and your defence are playing that bad.
One thing I will be before I forget. One thing I will be critical of Moyes with this in this game is that I thought Garner and Iroboom were too deep. Far too deep for my liking. We're playing Brentford at home. and they were more or less sitting on top of Michael Keane and James Tarkowski at times. So there was a big gaping hole from Dwight McNeil playing in the 10, Thierry Barry obviously playing in the 9, and the huge hole in Everton's midfield where Garner and Zirabunan were sitting in front of the back four. It was hurting us. I was hoping to see us 20 yards further forward. Now, I don't want them to start pressing like loons, because you lose your way and you lose obviously your style of play and your position, but pressing key areas when you need to. And I thought Everton's pressing game from the midfield weren't on it at all. I thought they were trying hard in bits and fits and starts, but I just thought the centre of midfield and between them two and Dwight McNeil never worked at all for Everton today.
Yeah, and I think as well on that, I mean, I agree with that. One thing I do agree with you for today's show. And Brentford are a team who'll give you chances as well. You know, they do try to play out from the back a little bit. I mean, without a doubt, they'll mix it up and they'll not afraid to hit it long, because, you know, they've got a monster of a striker. But there was definitely opportunities there where Brentford had the ball just coming out of the area and they lost it, and we just didn't capitalise on that.
Because we went on our pressing game, was we?
Again, I'm just going back to, I'm repeating myself, and I really don't mean to, but I think it's a little bit of case of mentality today. If I'm being totally honest, look, quality-wise, we weren't there. But first 10, 15 minutes, we started well and reacted really badly to that first goal. And I don't know whether it was because it was a mistake from one of the responsible players who should be taking responsibility, one of the experienced players who should be taking responsibility. I don't know. He's prone to that, Tarkowski, isn't he, sometimes? And when he does make that mistake, he just loses his head. Yeah. I mean, Brentford in the second half, we're all over him for corners, and he was just losing his head. Yeah. He was just barging in, pushing, and, you know, that's Tarkowski ball, isn't it? He just loves a good pushing and shoving. It's frustrating, Tom, look.
Can we, I want to leave on a high. It was great to see, although obviously I'd like to have seen Addison Armstrong remain at Preston, but it just shows you how paper thin squad is, as I touched on at the start of this episode, that we're having to recall an academy player from a championship team, but he should be starting against Wolves.
He could walk into that. Look, he had a little cameo and he didn't do much because he didn't have the time, but again, you can see he's neat on the ball, and I think he could walk into that team based on who's available right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Dwight McNeil,
I'd be willing to put against Wolves. I'd like to see Grealish in a 10.
There was a period in that second half, or there was a little scenario where he burst through the middle in that game. And, you know, I think we're sure we created a chance from that.
I'll play him in a 10.
Moyes just loves him on the left, though, doesn't he?
He does, but it may have to. But he has said, I think when Jack Grealish signed for Everton, he was asked the question, Moyes, in terms of like, is he just going to be obviously on the left? He said no. We said Jack can play across the three. We've seen him play in a 10 for Aston Villa. We've seen him play lots of times in England in that time. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big change in personnel on Wednesday night against Wolves. I think we'll see Addison Armstrong start. I think we'll see Jack Grealish in a different role, mainly because Wolves are a lot more. Well, listen, they haven't got the quality Brentford have got. Don't get me wrong, and I'm glad they've got their first win out the way. Let's put it that way. But at the same token, it's a game now where, and fair play to David Moyes, one thing you do get from him as a reaction, you'll never see, as you touched on at the start of this episode, Ian, you named all the times that Everton have had a poor result, but they've bounced back. Everton don't generally under Moyes have a continuation of poor performances and poor results, especially in the last 12 months. It doesn't continue. They normally bounce back. They have they react to defeats and bad performances. So, I'm expecting a big reaction on Wednesday night. I'm expecting big changes in the team, even though we have got the paper-thin squads. Be interesting to see if Jude Biol's back. Listen, you could quite clearly see today there was players there playing that who are nowhere near fit. Michael Keane springs to mind straight away. So, Moyes will have to look at the dressing room, see where he is with the medical staff in terms of how fit they are. But he's got some scope, but he's still papering over cracks. He really, really is with the limitations of the squad. He mentioned it in the press conference the other day in terms of like, we need numbers. We definitely need numbers there. He's putting it out there, and I'm sure he'll be putting it out there to the freaking group and the recruitment team. He needs numbers in this window, desperately. If we've got any aspirations, and we talked about it, haven't we, jokingly, about getting our passports out next season, then we need numbers and we need quality. We can't have project players in January. We can't have players for a Merlin Roller, Tyler Dibling and Adam Asnu at Thierry Barry. We can't have them players in January. We need ready-made players now to hit the ground running. Attack on full-backs. And Anthony Robinson from Fulham springs to mind straight away.
I'll be very surprised
of course,
the club,
a left-back, for example, or a centre-forward, you need to hit the ground running. If you don't, then you'll just stay in mid-table, flex from 15th to 10th.
One thing is for certain, we need a right back now.
Yeah.
If we're eyeing up a right back, say for the summer, who is, going to cost 20 million in the summer, but it's going to cost 30 million now, I'd honestly pay it.
Yeah.
If he's a player, if it's a player that you see coming in the summer and starting and playing regularly and hitting the ground running, but it's going to cost an extra 10 million now, go and get him, because we are crying out.
Oh yeah,
we are crying out for a right back.
And there's an argument to say we may not be in this position next season. And what I mean by that is that because the league's so compact, so 2 or 3 wins, if we would have had that right back, for example, today, and beaten Wolves, all of a sudden you've gained 6 points, and 2 or 3 wins can catapult you from 12th to all of a sudden 4th. It can, because Liverpool are in 4th at the moment, and they're about 8 points away from 15th. So it shows you 2 or 3 wins, and you all of a sudden you can catapult yourself into the European mix. So it's them key areas, and I'm hoping that the recruitment team, the freaking group, and David Moyes will be meeting surely in a matter of days, saying, right, we need to address this, because we can't have Campbell, Welsh, Asnu, Beto, Patterson, and 2 goalkeepers on the bench if you're trying to win, or if you're trying to win games of football in the Premier League and trying to get into Europe. It won't happen.
No, I mean, just on finish off, obviously the biggest frustration is conceding 4. Like we've done against Newcastle. I can almost accept, I wouldn't accept it, but look, I can have getting beat by a Premier League team, because it's never an easy game. No games are easy, but to concede 4 and to capitulate like that, I know it wasn't. It
was
like
3,
goals.
Wasn't it? And listen, at the end, they were trying to chase and listen, again, hindsight, it was 3-1. And Everton are trying to chase the game, trying to, obviously, Tarkowski's flying forwards, Michael Keane's going forwards, and all of a sudden he hits us. And listen, if Everton would have scored, would have made it 3-2. Hang on, there's 5 minutes left here. But they've chased the game, they've been caught on the counter, and Thiago's bullied us and scored his hat-trick. And that's why the recruitment team have hunted them down and bought him. And sadly, we haven't, and we need to be in that market. We desperately do. And I'm not just pinpointing him as well. There's your Bournemouth, your Brightons of the world, all these teams now. They're searching the globe. They're searching your Belgian leagues, your Spanish leagues, your French leagues. They're finding superstars. They're finding your Coyotes and your Thiagos of the world. There's a lad there that played for Bournemouth yesterday who scored that wonder goal against Arsenal. Krupe cost absolutely nothing. Scored like 7 or 8 goals for Bournemouth this season. There's players out there in the world. You've just got to go and scout properly and recruit properly. And hopefully that's what the recruitment team have been doing so far in the last 6 months.
We usually finish off by awarding an Everton man of the match, a NordVPN Everton man of the match. I mean, I know we got beat 4-2. Was there anyone who stood out who you think, well, yeah, he tried, he was the man of the match? I'll say, I thought probably Garner. I thought if anyone was going to give it, you can maybe make an argument for Thierry Barry because he got his goal, but I don't know.
I'd probably say Grealish. Grealish on the basis of his 2 assists. He worked hard. He was putting the ball into the box. He was looking for more from his teammates. You could see his body language just saying, come on, give me something to run off. And you're playing, for all how good he is as well going forward, he's been, his levels, imagine how good his levels would be with an overlapping left back. Imagine Jack Grealish playing alongside Leighton Baines, for example. Imagine the overlapping runs Baines would provide. Someone of that ilk. Now I know they're hard to find, the Leighton Baines of the world. I get that. But to find a left back that's going to literally take men away from Jack Grealish, or even so he can roll them in, it's night and day at the moment. And as Joe touched on, I mentioned it before, you're 3-1 down at home trying to chase the game. Jack Grealish has got the ball on the edge of the area, and your left back is on the halfway line with his hands on his hips. That should not be happening. It shouldn't be happening. Your left back should be marauding forwards, overlapping your full back, taking a man away, or at least being rolled in. And that's the key thing that's here in Everton at the moment. They've got brilliant wingers, which obviously one's in AFCON, one's obviously has got 2 assists today, playing well this season, but they haven't got overlapping full backs. And until they get that, we're not going to go to that next level, if that makes sense.
I think that's another point, isn't it? Is that how many players are we missing that would probably get straight into that first team? Is it 3 maybe?
Well, Dewsbury's got to come back.
Or 4, sorry. So Dewsbury, Ndiaye. You can make an argument for Ghana being a first team starter and Brantwaite.
And Brantwaite, yeah.
For
key, and listen,
they're key players as well.
Of course, and listen, you take four of the best players out of Liverpool's team or Manchester City team or Arsenal. Arsenal struggled last season when they lost Saka and they lost obviously Havertz. You take the best 4 players out of any team in the Premier League and they're going to struggle. Whereas the key thing is for Everton is that they've got a good 11 on paper. If Everton put the best 11 out on paper, they've got arguably a top 6, top 7 11. But the problem is behind that, it's paper thin.
Yeah.
You've seen this. You've seen today when you're Merlin Rolls and you Dwight McNeil's and listen, I'm not having a go at them, by the way, far from it. But I'm just saying when you're playing against them, it's all well and good doing it against Nottingham Forest, who are a poor side at the moment. When you're being asked to do it again, can you do it again against the Brentford? That's when you want the consistency from these fringe players. And it never happened today. And it's hurting Everton big time. When them big players are out, you're asking your fringe players to go again. And they never. And that's obviously, I'm speaking about your Dwight McNeil's of the world.
Okay.
But the big push is Addison Armstrong, by the way. He should start on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comments in there saying he should start ahead of Dwight McNeil. And I think what have you got to lose, if you're being totally honest? Look, Dwight's done okay over the past couple of weeks. You know, he hasn't set the world alight, but he's done okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you know, Moyes has trusted him to do a job, and another day that left foot that he's got, that shot could have gone in, and it could have been a completely different game early on, couldn't it? It hasn't, and we got beat 4-2. So
as McNeil and Tyler Dibbling, I'm not having a go at them, by the way. Have they played that well in the last 2 or 3 weeks to have ripped this Everton shirt off Jude Bjorn and Ndiaye?
No.
Exactly. And that's what you want. Yeah. You want your fringe players to make, you want David Moyes to make it so difficult for him to put Jude Bjorn and Iliman Ndiaye on that side.
I think
and they haven't done it.
There's been promising spells.
Yeah, of course.
I wouldn't say full 90-minute performances.
No, and that's what you want. That's where you're getting from Jude Bjorn. You're getting from Iliman Ndiaye. You're getting a good 70 or 80 minutes out of them, week in, week out. They're very consistent footballers. Whereas in your fringe players haven't been consistent. They haven't took the jersey off our star players, and that's what we're missing at the moment.
Okay, we'll finish off, and just to finish off a little bit of schedule housekeeping, there is no Royal Blue show tomorrow, which is Monday the 5th of January, but we will have a Royal Blue show live on YouTube on Tuesday the 6th of January. So obviously that is ahead of the game against Wolves on Wednesday. So midweek game Wednesday, and then there'll be a normal Friday show as well. So yeah.
Are we back in Wednesday, yeah, after the match?
Yeah, I think so. 7:30 kickoff, isn't it? So we should be able to get here in good time. Let's hope we're a little bit brighter, a little bit more positive.
And we can hopefully talk about a win.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
So there will be a post-match show following the Wolves game on Wednesday as well. So a little bit of swapping and changing around with the schedule this week. But obviously, if you want to watch... I don't know, you're watching it live now, but if you want to go and re-watch what we've just said and you want to stomach that, you can do. Tony, final thoughts? All good? Well, not all good. But...
Not all good, but listen, I touched on it at the start. Sometimes you walk away from another poor defeat at Hill Dickinson, but you just need to sometimes take a step back and think about being realistic of where we're at. 12 months ago, we were in a perilous position on and off the pitch. We're in an half decent place now. We've got 3 or 4 of our best players out the side, which is going to hurt anyone. I don't care who you are. You could be Real Madrid, you could be Arsenal. You're taking the 4 best players out of any side, and you're going to obviously be hurt there. So, yeah, you're looking to hopefully see 1 or 2 additions now in January. Moyes to be rattling on the door to the owner saying, right, let's get an attacking fullback, let's get a centre forward if you want to be serious about European football next season. So we'll see over the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm optimistic about that. We'll get a reaction against Wolves. Moyes generally does, as results speak for themselves in terms of reacting from defeats. So I'm sure we'll see that on Wednesday night. I'm sure also we'll see big changes in the 11, given the numbers he's got.
100%. We definitely need the reaction against Wolves, and I think if we do get a win on Wednesday and obviously the following Saturday in the Cup against Fulham against Sunderland, hopefully this defeat will be quickly forgotten. That is your post-match Royal Blue podcast with me, Ian Croll, and Tony Scott, and we will be back on Tuesday. So we will see you then. All the best, and see you again soon.